WoW Discourse is either losing its mind or it's truly opened its eyes, depending on who you're talking to. It's due to a number of folks, like over on social media and forums and elsewhere, who are echoing all sorts of sentiments that, oh, there's nothing to do in Dragonflight, and how this revelation of what there is or isn't to do is really, really bad for the world of Warcraft. But it's also really good too. Kind of confusing, but hey, it's Soul. Like the video. If it ends up being insightful, downvote it because it's crap, and let us know how you feel. And we should start out by describing just what the WoW team has done with Dragonflight, this evil scheme that aims to get you to log in frequently, but also to not, I guess. Dragonflight lacks a few things that were very prevalent in previous expansions, namely Legion, Battle for Azeroth, and Shadowlands. And by that I'm talking about reasons to log in each and every day for an incremental something or other. Because with Legion, it was artifact power, as well as that low, nasty chance at getting Legion legendaries and Titanforged gear. And because of that, in my opinion, it's what I consider to be WoW's most heavily RNG-based expansion, despite what you may like about it. With Battle for Azeroth, it was artifact power again, and it was Titanforging again, and this time we had Azerite essences with these cross gameplay requirements that challenged folks to engage in gameplay that they're not really used to, like PvP. So you have to PvP in order to get that one essence powered up, and then use that power in keys, the actual thing that you want to do. So I'd say that that expansion did the most to pull people in directions that they did not want to go in. And then in Shadowlands, we moved towards a very required activity in the form of Torghast and other such things. So at least during the first half of that expansion, players felt way too compelled to participate in outdoor content to make their characters ready for endgame. So I would say that Shadowlands was most notorious for having very deep grinds that did not have a lot of payoff. There are two takeaways that these previous expansions had in common. And these are all opinions, by the way. First takeaway is that there was this long stage between max level and being actually ready to play the game, to participate in endgame, and it often involved doing side content that a lot of people didn't want to do. And the second takeaway, by consequence, is that we bitched about it a lot. If you look at forum posts and YouTube videos from the past, you're going to see tons of people who are railing against Titanforging and the RNG and the long grinds of stuff that we don't want to do, but there's a thing that we want, so we're going to have to do it. And all this was to please the bean counters and increase our time played and blah, blah, blah. And so we had this outcry for catch-ups and account-wide progress and deterministic and meaningful upgrades and a removal of borrowed power, a goal to reach so that players could feel a sense of gear completion before the next season starts, and then here we go again. Those three expansions are what led to the lessons that are reflected in Dragonflight, which I'll start talking about in just a bit. Those three expansions also did something else. They conditioned us to this log-in every day or else kind of lifestyle. We've gotten used to it, and Dragonflight is working towards kind of sort of weaning us off of it. But not everyone handles it the same way because, and we should be fair, some people really prefer the structured, the scheduled, the almost job-like mentality of maintaining their characters from week to week. There is nothing wrong with that, just like there's nothing wrong with not liking it. The conflicts come when these people start to talk to one another or they talk at one another, insisting that their gameplay style is the right way to go. That's the chaos that I've been seeing over in social media for the past week or so, either because, I don't know, people believe it or people are just baiting each other and it's working. Dragonflight did change almost everything. Side grinds in Dragonflight are for side things like appearances and pets and mounts. Meanwhile, gear is crazy accessible. I mean, it's not given out for free, but check it, if you have the resources, you can just go to an NPC and then plug in those resources and have, a player make epic crafted gear for you. Raid Finder gear can be upgraded up to normal. Normal can be upgraded to heroic. Mythic Plus might not be your cup of tea, but it's much more accessible than it's ever been. Outside of gear, there's no period of preparing your character. You just set your talents and go. It's pretty nuts. And yet, there's this grumbling of sorts. I mean, I'm not going to call it an outcry really, but a grumbling that, well, you know, we just don't log in as much as we used to. Like, we log in and, you know, we see our guild and our friend list, and everyone's offline because no one's on grinding away at something, and I really want to rally these people for keys. I'm used to that. And when I say we, I don't mean all of us, I'm just speaking for the sentiment here. Like, we don't feel as motivated to get on, I guess, because, oh, we need to do a thing to get a thing so we can finally play the game. Because we either don't need to do the day-to-day farming that we used to, or we did and we're done. We already got what we're looking for, and all that's left is, you know, whatever our vision of endgame is. It could be getting to that high item level, it could be knocking out the transmog, or at least having good enough gear to solo old raid content, or finding a new ex-girlfriend, or whatever. But it's also funny when, you know, a couple months back when the Onyx Amulet was first introduced, it was like a PTSD moment. It's like, OMG, borrowed power is back, Heather, bolt the doors. Some people freaked out over the required grinding of rares for keys to venture into the vault for currency and RNG materials that you hope to get. And some of you out there are like, well, yeah, that's right. I mean, it was a terrible, no good, typical Blizzard ActiBliz thing. Saying that there's nothing to do in WoW, or at least nothing to do that interests you, it's a perfectly fine take to have. Not everyone collects pets or mounts or transmog, and so they're not interested in the vehicles, the activities with which those things are delivered. Of course, not everyone gives two hoots about Mythic Plus or raiding, and again, the conflicts come from these two schools of thoughts coming to blows, saying that one thing is more important than the others, but while the realities of game development do include limited resources and time, it's not a zero-sum game where there has to be a loser for someone else to feel good. But whatever the case, there's still folks like me who tend to dabble in a little bit of everything, who have no shortage of things to do in this expansion. Like, we'll just slide from one thing to another, from running the mega dungeon 4 times in a row to AFKing through time rifts to get all the transmog quickly before it's raid time, and then after that I'm gonna spend some time getting some Nax recipes. Some of you might actually see empty friend and guild lists. It's a reality. I happen to see lists that are more full and lively than they've ever been. Does that mean that I'm more right than you? Of course not. I think what we're seeing is not the game being factually worse. We're seeing the state of the game without nearly as many required grinds, and people are more empowered to choose how they want to play, and that includes playing only when it interests them. We have an expansion with an arguably more relaxed theme compared to the end of existence scenarios of previous expansions. Many of us have been conditioned to the daily and the weekly required grinds, and maybe some of us aren't adjusting as well to the change as others. Of course, I don't 100% blame the players. The WoW team might not have done such a great job of transitioning us off the mentality, but frankly, I don't know what really would have felt good for everybody. The way I see it, it's a very fine line between freewheeling it and locking us into some, one of those required grinds. World of Warcraft's also doing something else with the way that it deploys its patches. Like, we're mostly used to the seasonal and the world activities being laid down, like, all just kind of plopped right at the start of a season to be enjoyed as the season goes on. And then it's paced in different ways, from like slow rep grinds to straight up time gating features that we know is going to come in X number of weeks, as long as we complete like the campaign stuff and get our renown up. So we just gotta, keep on grinding until we get there. But Dragonflight's doing it a little differently. We have a roadmap, which gives us a tease of what's to come, but we don't have a full picture of everything that's coming in the season. Sometimes we're a little surprised. Now, some would say that Season 2 started off really empty feeling, and I won't argue there. But based on what we're seeing on the 10.17 PTR, we can identify how the season has been slowly climbing us up the item level and the activity tracks. At the moment, we can very comfortably collect veteran gear and class set appearances to go with them. In the upcoming patch, we're going to get walked into champion gear level, which will make the slide into patch 10.2 that much smoother. So we're getting this sort of soft build-up that might have started with a misstep in 10.1, I totally get it, but for new content to come in patches instead of just time-gated unlocks, it means the team can learn lessons and put more time into fleshing out better features with bugs to match, don't get me wrong. But speaking for me, I really enjoy the direction that this is going because it gives time for the team to create the usual activities for endgame, but also a steady stream of activities and long-lasting rewards that people can jump into when they feel like it, as well as kind of make small pivots and adjustments to player feedback so that way, during these more incremental patches, some lessons are learned and reflected on. These days we live in a world of Warcraft that wants you to come in and enjoy the new things, and also to empower players with the choice to do it at all or do it later while trying to minimize punishment. Now I know it's not perfect, notably with how there's so much emphasis on group activity, and oftentimes success depends on participation. 10.1.7, it kind of reflects on those lessons with zone perks to make characters very powerful and requirements that aren't nearly as dependent on zerging a bunch of rares with millions of HP. So the moral of the story is to not shut up, keep giving feedback. Now, some people might say that you're wrong to feel a certain way, and I say screw them. And you might be tempted to say that some people are wrong, but I say try to curb that. We're not trying to fight each other. We're mostly on the same team. Meanwhile, it's the WoW team's job to take this feedback and turn it into something that tries to make everyone happy, as much as some might not like that. So that's going to be it. Leave a few thoughts, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.